Let's go Dolphins! The Dolphins are quietly building something powerful for 2026, or are we about to witness another season of frustration? Because, on paper, this team looks completely different, but different doesn't always mean better. And I'll say it right now, decisions are being made that could change the future of this franchise, or hurt it once again. The most intriguing part? It all seems like a gamble. A calculated gamble, yes, but a gamble nonetheless. New faces, young talent, bold signings in key positions, and at the center of it all, a team that seems to be betting high on potential rather than certainty. That's exciting, but also risky. And if you're a true Dolphins fan, you can feel that mix of hope and tension building right now. But before I reveal everything that's really going on and why it could blow up either way, be sure to hit the like button if you truly believe in this team. And I want to see something in the comments right now. Type, I'm optimistic about the Dolphins. Let's see how many true believers we still have in this cheering section heading towards 2026. Starting with the quarterback situation, everything revolves around Malik Willis. This is his team now, no question about it. The Dolphins made a massive investment in him, handing over a 3-year deal worth over $60 million, giving him the keys to potentially redefine his career and become the franchise quarterback Miami has been searching for. The talent is there, the athleticism is undeniable, but the real concern is whether the supporting cast around him is strong enough to elevate his game. Behind him, the battle for the QB3 spot between Cam Miller and Mark Gronowski is one to watch, but realistically, Miami might only carry 2 quarterbacks on the active roster. That tells you how much confidence, or risk, they're placing in Willis. Now shift to the running back room, and there's an interesting dynamic forming. The Dolphins didn't draft a running back, but they brought in Le'Veon Moss and Anthony Hankerson as undrafted free agents. Moss, in particular, could shake things up if he stays healthy, potentially challenging for that RB3 role. But the real headline here is Devon Achane. All signs point to an extension coming soon. The front office didn't draft a replacement, which strongly suggests they believe in him as a core piece moving forward. That's a huge vote of confidence, and a big commitment. Now here's where things get controversial. The wide receiver room. Right now, it's hard to sugarcoat it, this might be one of the weakest units in the entire NFL. Even with new additions, the current group is being viewed as bottom tier, and that's a serious concern for an offense trying to develop a quarterback like Willis. Veterans are still ahead of the rookies for now, and while there's hope for development, if the Dolphins had to play tomorrow, this unit would raise major red flags. On the flip side, the offensive line might be the most improved group on the entire roster. The addition of Caden Proctor and the shift of Jonah Savaiania back to a more natural position could completely transform this unit. If Jonah can even reach an average level of play after struggling last season, this line could take a massive leap forward. And that's critical, because this offense is expected to lean heavily on the run game and utilize multiple tight end sets. Defensively, there's a mix of optimism and concern. The interior defensive line looks promising, especially with young players developing in the belief that this unit could become one of the best in the league. However, the edge rush and safety positions remain big question marks. There's pressure on players like Chop Robinson to step up, because if they don't, Miami could struggle to generate pressure consistently. But here's the twist, linebackers might actually be the strength of this entire team. With players like Jacob Rodriguez and Kyle Lewis coming in, this unit brings versatility, coverage ability, and energy that could redefine the defense. Especially Lewis, who is expected to play a hybrid big nickel role, adding a unique dimension to Jeff Hafley's defensive scheme. And this is where things start to get even more intriguing, because when you project how this team is actually going to step onto the field, you begin to understand the real identity Miami is trying to build. This is not going to be a flashy, pass-heavy offense like fans might be used to. Instead, everything points toward a physical, run-oriented system built around control, tempo, and efficiency. If the Dolphins had to play a game tomorrow, the expectation is that they would lean heavily on 12 personnel, 2 tight ends on the field, a formation that tells you exactly what this coaching staff wants to do. With blocking specialists like Will Mallory and Ben Sims complementing that system, the goal is clear: establish the run, protect Malik Willis, and simplify the game early for this offense. That's not just a tactical decision, it's a necessity given the current limitations at wide receiver. And let's talk about Willis again, because everything comes back to him. His mobility adds a completely different layer to this offense. Defenses won't just have to account for the running backs, they'll have to spy the quarterback as well. That creates opportunities, especially in short yardage and red zone situations. But here's the problem: what happens when Miami falls behind? What happens when it's third and long and the defense knows you have to throw? That's where the lack of a true go-to receiver becomes a glaring issue. There's no proven star in that room right now who can consistently win those critical moments. Now flipping back to the defense, the potential is there, but it's fragile. The interior defensive line could dominate games if the young core continues to develop. Players like Kenneth Grant and Zeke Biggers showed flashes last season and are expected to take a leap in year 2. If that happens, Miami could control the line of scrimmage from the inside. But the edge? That's where things could fall apart quickly. There's a heavy reliance on players who haven't fully proven themselves yet, and that's a dangerous gamble in a league where quarterback pressure is everything. And then there's the secondary, specifically the safety group, which might be the most concerning unit on the entire roster. There's talent, yes, but it's unproven, inconsistent, and lacking depth. Young players are being asked to step into significant roles immediately, and while that can sometimes lead to breakout performances, it can also lead to costly mistakes. This is the kind of unit that could be exposed early in the season if things don't click fast. However, one thing that could balance all of this out is the linebacker core. This group is fast, aggressive, and versatile. With Jacob Rodriguez potentially taking on the role of defensive signal caller and Kyle Lewis operating as that hybrid weapon all over the field, Miami has the flexibility to disguise coverages and adapt mid-play. That's going to be crucial, especially when trying to compensate for weaknesses elsewhere on the defense. And here's the bigger picture that every Dolphins fan needs to understand. This team might not start the season strong, but that doesn't mean they won't improve. The offense is likely to be more reliable early on, simply because it's built around structure and control. Meanwhile, the defense, under Jeff Hafley, could take time to develop chemistry, especially with so many young pieces learning the speed of the NFL game. But if those players grow into their roles, this defense could become a real problem for opponents later in the season. And this is exactly where the pressure starts to build inside the organization, because once the season kicks off, there are no more excuses, only results. The Dolphins are walking into 2026 with a roster that clearly has a direction, but at the same time, it feels like they are balancing on a thin line between potential and uncertainty. Think about it for a second. You have an offense that is designed to protect its quarterback, rely on the run game, and control the clock. That can win you games, but only to a certain point. In today's NFL, eventually, you need explosive plays. You need receivers who can separate, who can take over a drive, who can be that safety blanket when everything breaks down. And right now, Miami doesn't have that proven presence. That's not speculation, that's the reality of how this roster is built today. So what does that mean? It means the margin for error becomes extremely small. Every drive has to be efficient. Every mistake gets amplified. And most importantly, Malik Willis has to play smart football. He doesn't need to be a superstar overnight, but he cannot afford to turn the ball over or force plays that aren't there. Because if he does, this offense doesn't have the firepower to constantly bail itself out. Now on the defensive side, the story is almost the opposite. There's less structure, but maybe more upside. You're relying on young players to grow fast, to adapt quickly, and to handle responsibilities that usually take years to master. That's a bold strategy, and one that could either pay off in a big way or completely backfire early in the season. And let's not ignore one key factor here: coaching. Jeff Hafley is going to play a massive role in how this defense evolves week by week. His scheme, especially with that big nickel